Welcome to After the Call, the podcast dedicated to the stories and struggles behind the badge, the turnout gear, and the uniform. Each week, we'll bring you a powerful conversations with first responders, mental health professionals, and advocates who are breaking the stigma, sharing their journeys, and offering real solutions. We'll talk about PTSD resilience, family impact, and the resources that can make a difference. Because the job doesn't just leave scars on the body, it affects the mind, the heart, and the people who serve alongside us. And no one should have to carry that burden alone. This is After the Call, where you'll find strength through resilience.
Welcome to another episode of After the Call. I am your host, Patrick, along with my co-host, Veronica.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. And we're here with Ty.
Hi there.
And your wonderful wife.
Hi. Karen.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about your foundation, a little bit of your history, law enforcement, maybe Marine Corps, stuff that you guys had to deal with as a married couple, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want to go into.
For sure, yeah. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to have this platform to share what it is we're doing. I think it's great. I'm excited to learn more about your guys' organization as well as we move on. Yeah, I don't know. You want to start with something? Go ahead.
Just that I think Ty's awesome.
She read the script.
He's my favorite husband I ever had.
Here's your payment for that.
That's right.
He's my only husband I've ever had.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of start from why it is we're here and how we got here. So I was born in Canada, moved down the States as a little kid, and from the time I was little, I would play war games, throwing dirt clods at each other, my brother and friends and stuff like that. And then, play cops and robbers. So I kind of knew that's really what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what that would look like when I was 10. But I got to my last year of high school, and I didn't want to go to college. That was not my thing. That was, definitely not my thing. But I knew I wanted to get out of the small town. I liked the small town where I was at, but I knew that I needed to get out of that town. And so a friend of mine convinced me to go see the Air Force recruiter. So we go into the recruiting office, and he wasn't there. Air Force recruiter didn't show. So then I went next door, and the Army guy, his head was down, and he wasn't looking to talk to anybody. He looked like he was overwhelmed. And then I went to the Navy guy, and he was a little bit bigger than what I thought was, military. Just, I don't want to slag the guy too much, but he was wearing a medium uniform. And so I was like, I'm not sure. And then down at the end of the hall, like almost tucked around the corner, like kept out of the way, was the sign that says U.S. Marines. So I went in there, and I remember Gunnery Sergeant Duck. He stood up, and he was about, 8 feet tall and
Bulletproof.
Yeah. It's built like a brick shit house. It just, I was like, wow, this guy looks good. And he challenged me. He says, why do you think I should let you into the Marine Corps? And I didn't know what to say. I just like, I want to serve. I want to do something different, and I want to get out of town. And he challenged me to, a couple of different things. Like I was a wrestler through high school, and he says, what's the best, what feels better, beating a guy like 10-0 or beating a guy 2-1? I said, well, 2-1. He said, why is that? I said, because you fight hard for it. He goes, that's what you're going to find in the Marine Corps. So you're going to find that you will fight hard for what you do. Yeah. It will. If you want easy, make an appointment with somebody else. He says, but if you think you got what it takes, come and do this. And I almost walked away like, who the hell is he to say that I can't do this? I almost took it as a challenge, I guess. And so, I was...
Tell him about the uniform as well.
Oh, yeah. He had some pretty good recruiting ones in, Patrick. I'm sure you'll appreciate this. He was in his dress blue Delta, so he had the dress blue trousers and khaki shirt and just chest full of Vietnam ribbons. And he says... Now I'm feeling awkward saying this in front of women in the room. But he says, this uniform comes with extra gravity. So I was like, what does that mean, sir? And he says, you put this on and panties drop. Don't you worry.
I
don't know about the deltas, but dress blues, those drop panties all day.
Yeah. So I was like, I will sign here twice tomorrow, 3 times the next day. Yeah. And he says, do you want to drive other people's vehicles, have somebody else pay for your vehicles, your guns, and your uniform? Yeah. And do you want to get paid to do it? Yes, I do. So, yeah, I mean, it really didn't take much to sway me, but yeah, the gravity uniform, that was a clincher. I was trying to be nice here. I didn't want to.
Oh no, people
No,
love that
true
stuff.
self.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that was the truth, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh. And so my buddy Mike was going to the Marine Corps as well. So we both signed up, buddy program. I got credit for him coming in, and yeah, it's funny. I'll get to him later, but yeah, we went off to boot camp together, and I was, boot camp for the first month was difficult, and then by that time you're 18 years old, you're full of testosterone, you can do whatever it is they tell you to do. Once you get past the mental game, it's like, oh, okay, I'll just do more push-ups. It doesn't matter, and I saw the what was supposed to be the stress of the whole boot camp, like the first month and a half, that mental stress. Afterwards, it was just a comedy show. Like I'd get in trouble for laughing because the drill instructors were so funny. They'd say just the most horrendous, just heinous stuff, and I ate it up. That was funny. So yeah, I got out of boot camp, did my basic training stuff out of North Carolina, and they said, well, where do you want to, you fill out that wish list, where do you want to go? So I said, West Coast, West Coast, West Coast, and I went to the West Coast and kept on going and put me on the East Coast of Okinawa, Japan, and yeah, I was
Number
over
one
there.
pick.
Yeah, number one pick, yeah, exactly. And so I was 19 years old, or just about to turn 19 years old, living on the other side of the country with no family. And you're there for a year, and this is 90, 91. So, I mean, there's no cell phones. There's no, I think I talked to family 3 times that year. And it's different. It was a huge kick in the ass to wake up.
Sure.
I think the military, it was a great, secure, safe place to learn how to be a man, because you got to do your work, right? There's no getting out of it, but there's also, in civilian world, I kind of equate it to when you walk down a path. As long as you stay on the path, you're good. In the civilian world, nobody tells you if you wander off, right? In the military, there's more than enough people to tell you, hey, you're getting off the path and kicking the ass to get back on. And so, yeah, I did my year over there. From there, from the year that I was in Okinawa, I got to go all over the world and a bunch of different places and a couple of humanitarian missions. So I was like, oh, okay, we're humanitarian mission Marines. Not a big deal. Even made it through Desert Shield, Desert Storm, never went. I was like on the flight line a couple of times, said, nope, go back. So I was like, all right, it is what it is. Yeah. Go to California, stationed at Camp Pendleton, and for a young single guy being in Southern California, it was not the worst place in the world. Yeah, not the worst place in the world. The only problem is just a whole bunch of other Marines there too. And yeah, I remember I come home on leave, or just it was I think a 4-day weekend for Thanksgiving in '92, and my dad said something. He goes, "There's some thing on the news about Mogadishu." I mean, I didn't even know how to spell it. I was like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Didn't make any sense to me. Just kind of, I get back to work on the Monday morning after Thanksgiving. I said, you're going to Mogadishu. I was like, here we go, another humanitarian mission. And we didn't finally get out of there until Christmas Eve. We finally left. And I remember I was a platoon sergeant I had been promoted to corporal in September of that year. So I'm like really junior guy. All of a sudden I'm in charge of a platoon of Marines. And we go down to the armory to check out our weapons. And I was like, why are we even taking out weapons? All we're going to do is hand out rights like we did in the other places. And the armorer, he gives me like half a case of ammo. He says, hey, do me a favor, take this out of here. I'm not allowed to have it. So I thought I was doing him a favor. So I split it up amongst my platoon. I was like, all right, here, you guys take like 5 boxes each, and we're all good. Just throw it in your pack. You can throw it away once we get there. It doesn't matter, right? We land in Mogadishu, get off the plane. Sergeant Major pulls us over. He says, all right, Corporal Doolittle, get your squad together, or your platoon together. I go talk to Staff Sergeant and say, Sergeant Major wants to see us. And he kind of pulls us off to the side. We're in the airport, it's dirt airport in the middle of, this famine-ravaged country. And he's like, here's your rules of engagement. I was like, that seems weird. Why would he tell us that? It says somebody
extra stuff.
Yeah. So then, he tells us rules of engagement. Basically, anybody got a gun, you shoot them, make sure they don't shoot you. And I remember opening up the travel brochure, and I'm like, I don't see this anywhere. I think my travel agent lied to me, right? And then all of a sudden, we start getting fire. Like, we're inside the wire, and snipers are shooting at us. And thank God the Somalians had horrible weapons, and they were not very good shots because they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. But it was just weird. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. This is not what I thought we were doing.
This is on.
Yeah. This is on, yeah. So we loaded up our trucks and we drove. It was about 7 miles from the airport to the embassy, and we were staying at the embassy. Got in 2 firefights on the way there. I'm a motor team mechanic. I'm like, what is this? I'm not a grunt. Like, none of this is what I thought I was getting into, but it was on. I was there for 3 months, and man, it was firefight after firefight after firefight. It was go, go, go. My boss was a staff sergeant, Mike Cahill, and he was harder than woodpecker lips, this guy. He was something. When he first came in the Marine Corps, it was in 1975, and he was like right out of boot camp over to Saigon. He was in the evacuation of Saigon.
Jeez. And
he had every major minor conflict up until then. He had done it all. And he was like our section chief, our staff NCOIC. And so, yeah, we'd go out because, as you know, in the Marines, if you're a sergeant and below, you carry a rifle. If you're a staff sergeant above, you carry a pistol. So we'd go out, and I was a corporal, so we'd get in the car, and or in the Hummers or the trucks or whatever, and he'd give me his pistol, and I'd give him my rifle. And he says, okay, make sure we don't die. And it was crazy. Like, I remember driving through a crowd, and it's like they're just converging on us and like driving and shooting like Hollywood style. And Staff Sergeant Cahill, he's like left, right, just pointing out targets. And all I want to do is I could just drive through them. And it was just absolutely bananas. And I remember after our first use of force shooting, I get back to the embassy, and the intel guy at the gate, he says, well, how many rounds did you shoot? I said, I blasted through like 9 mags. He goes, okay, 9 rounds. Good. Go over to supply. They'll get you some more ammo.
Not 9 rounds.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're counting. So they give me 9 more mags, right? They give me lots of ammo. And then the guy at supply said, he goes, if you're having trouble, you can go talk to the chaplain, or I think we got some whiskey in the back. You can have some of that. Well, I didn't drink. I mean, it's not that I didn't drink. I didn't drink while I was there.
Sure.
And I wasn't a Christian at the time. So I was like, why would I do any of that? I'll just push it down. It'll be fine. It'll never come up again. I'll be fine. This is every time. And I'm responsible for 11 guys. And, my biggest, I guess, the thing I'm most proud of while we were there is that every day we went out with 11, we came back with 11. We went home with 11.
Good. Everybody
survived. Not everybody gets to say that when you've been in combat. I think you can relate to that. So when I think of things that I'm proud of is that I was thrust into a leadership role that, when I look back on it now, I'm like, there's no way I would ever trust a 21-year-old kid to be in charge of 11 men in combat day in, day out. But as you know, in the Marines, you just do it.
Yeah,
you just do it.
Much different.
Yeah. So we finally get back stateside, and company gunnery sergeant says, Carrie, if you have any problems, if you guys are like having nightmares or stuff like that, you think you're not coping, we'll get you admitted to the psych ward. If not, you can go home on leave. So really
let me
tough
think
choice.
about those options.
Yeah. So I went home on leave. Mm-hmm. I was shooting people on Monday, dinner at my dad's house on Friday. I didn't really, I don't think I assimilated as well as I probably could have. I was home on leave for 20 days. In that time, I got engaged. Not to Karen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It wasn't issued yet.
Yeah.
She does know about this ahead of time. I didn't spring this on her here.
You said what?
I'm sorry about that. And I got in 3 fights. And there were, really good reasons to fight. Like somebody bumped me in a bar that was crowded. And I was like, yeah, that seems like a great idea. I should probably fight. And I probably, what required maybe a level 3 force, I was going as hard as I could. Just because my brother's like, get out of here.
Code
You're
black.
Done. Yeah. So, well, obviously the debriefing was working well. Yeah.
Or your self-counsel.
Yeah. I just went to myself and said, you can do this. Suck it up. Put it away. You don't need to feel.
Well, PTSD wasn't even a thing, like nowhere on the horizon yet.
No, and I've heard this on other different shows, podcasts and stuff. Like in World War I, World War II, guys were coming back from being at war for 2-year deployments, and they were on a ship for 3 months. Mm-hmm. They went through it. They debriefed. They got together. They talked about the things they went through. We went from, like I said, killing people on Monday, plane breaking down, getting held over here, landing in Delaware and being snowed in, all that stuff, to finally getting home. No debrief. No like, hey guys, you're going to have some trouble.
Sure.
It was just, okay, go home on leave. And I mean, I look back now and I'm like, what a recipe for disaster. And from what I understand, I got out in 1998, so a lot has changed. But it sounds like they're doing a lot better job of having guys go through some of that stuff and taking the stigma out of it. Have group debriefs, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. The single debriefs, like one-on-one, so you're not having to put your hand up in front of other people. That was the biggest stigmatism. Nobody wanted to put their hand up in front of all their, the fellow Marines, be called a pussy. Oh, you suck. Get better. Like that doesn't cut it.
Right.
So I wound up. I did a. I went back to Pendleton. I got promoted, transferred up to Portland, Oregon. And then I wound up leaving active duty as a sergeant in 97. Moved up to Canada because my folks lived up in Canada, and I thought I'd just go up there and probably go to school and then come back in as an officer. It was actually my original train of thought. And it was all good. I stayed in the reserves for another year and a half. But shortly after I moved up there, now I'd been quite divorced by this point. My marriage lasted 8 months, I think. Yeah. I've had deployments go longer.
Just trial run.
Yeah. It was, no kids, no harm, no foul. We're both able to walk away. I guess I look at it that way. It was a practice run. Okay. Shortly after I moved to Canada, I got left active duty. I met Karen, and I told her my plans of, I think I'll go back in as a lieutenant and be able to deploy all over. And what was your response to that?
Heck no, I think some the other word.
Yeah. Karen had already, she'd begun her career as a teacher, and she's like, I didn't go to school to go travel around watching you leave and be stuck in someplace I don't know.
I didn't understand the concept of why would I be married to somebody who was gone all the time, where I could find somebody who was here all the time, right, as a partner.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't argue with that logic. It made perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I was looking to do something. I needed, whether I wanted to admit it or not, I really needed that paramilitary structure. And it took a little while because I didn't have a university degree, but I finally got hired by the Vancouver Police Department in 2002. And at that point, we had been married for a year and a half, 2 years almost. Mm-hmm. Had a newborn son. And it was about 6 months before I got hired by the police. I was working as an investigator for an insurance company and working part-time for Sears catching shoplifters. And then I got laid off from the insurance company. It was basically the last 10% that got hired all got laid off. And Karen was home on maternity leave, and we had just bought a house, and it was like, our income got dropped about 70%.
Sure.
Luckily, my part-time job, they had a full-time opening, so I was able to do that. But it was still a big pay cut. So when I got the call from the police saying, hey, we're hiring you, it was
big relief.
Yeah,
were you comfortable with this?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep, my brother's a police officer for the RCMP.
Yeah. So
nobody else in her family had been police other than my brother. It struck me. And one of my good friends was actually a sergeant at the time with the Vancouver Police. And so that was kind of, in a weird way, comforting to me that he was there and he would be training with him.
He wound up being my boss for most of my career.
Yeah, he did.
The reason I ask is there's a lot of younger folks that go into this career field and their spouse is against it or they're not sure about it. So I'm glad to hear that you were like, let's roll.
I remember one of the things that I did as I was going through the interview process, and basically I got the okay, and I had what we call the inspector's interview, and I spoke with him, and he says, feel free to ask me any questions. I said, how do you make your marriage work? He says, I don't get a lot of people ask me that question. I said, my marriage is more important than anything. How do you make it work? And he gave me some great advice. Basically, he said, the job is not bigger than your family. Don't make it that way. Good. And so,
although you lost sight of that advice.
There's a few times I lost sight. I just, it got blurry. I wouldn't say I lost sight. It got blurry. Right. I got out of the police academy and went to my first squad, and I was there for 6-7 months. And they said, we're pulling you to go to beach patrol. And at first I was like, this is going to suck because it's walking in sand. I'm like, this is why I got out of the Marine Corps, because I hate walking in the sand. And
I just picture you with like David Hasselhoff and
the whole
works.
Just wait. Yeah. So I was like, well, they call us piss kids there. Instead of boots or rookies, we're called piss kids because way back in the day before there was cars, there was horses, right? And it was the junior guy had to go mop up the horse piss. So if you're a piss kid, it's because you're a junior person. So I'm the PK. And like, all right, I go do what I do. It's 3 of us and these 2 other guys, big, massive SWAT guys. They're running it as well. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm just going to be the Joe boy. And then the boss of the whole unit says, oh, by the way, I got you all ATVs. You're riding 4-wheelers, riding quads up and down the beach all summer. I was like, well, there we go.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, so it was not the worst, Lane. Let's not feel too bad for Ty. It was not the worst thing in the world. I remember one time we're driving on the beach and it's dusk and a whole bunch of girls go running past us while we're checking some bum, and then we kind of send him on his way. So we're riding down the beach and turn around and it's a sorority and they're doing their pledge and they're all going skinny dipping. And so this guy, Jeff, who I'm working with.
Wait, did you know about the story ahead of time?
After.
Oh, okay.
So Jeff and I roll up and we're like, and they're like, hey, officer. And I mean, they're all doing quite well with gravity. It's not overtaking them. And I looked at Jeff and I'm like, oh, we're going to get in shit here. He goes, it's either our wives or internal. Let's get out of here. And yeah, we beat feet out of
I joke, I said they went behind a bush and risked one eye.
Right.
Do
Just want to do a little,
Safety.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, you know, it was funny because I worked with these 2 senior guys named Jeff and Randy, and I started learning that there was styles to policing. It's not just what they teach you in the academy. And, you know, and these guys, I learned so much from them. And, you know, quality guys, still great contact with them to this day. But I also knew that I kind of had a calling that wasn't being met, and that a couple times during that summer I had run-ins with Hell's Angels, and I just loved to rise to the occasion. I'm not a big fan of gangs. And I wanted to start working where the gangsters were. I wanted to kind of pursue that side. So I think it was 2004, 2005, something like that. Yeah, 2005, I switched to the downtown core, and it's bar central, so I think the closest thing to it is like Scottsdale, where all the bars are. It was this amalgamation of bars in a 3-block strip. And there was never a shortage of work, and I loved it. I just excelled at it. Everything about it I liked. I started training recruits at this time because, you know, I still felt that call to, you know, well, you've been through, now help the next guy. Luckily, the very first recruit I had was another former Marine. Yep. So it made the transition a little bit easier to learn how to coach when somebody knew how to listen. Not all my recruits were like that, but Sean was definitely, he was one. And then in 2007, 2005, I got sent to the jail for a little bit, broke my hand, and was off for quite a long time. That was my 3rd broken hand on the job. I'm not smart. They say don't punch. I would punch. It doesn't work that well. So then I come out of the jail, I go back to downtown core, and then they have this, 2007, they have this gang war breakout. These high-level gangs were like just shooting each other in the middle of the day. Innocent people were getting shot. And all the chiefs of all the departments in the Vancouver area came together and said, put together a task force. We got to start teaching manners. I mean, obviously they didn't use those words, but that was basically our mandate. And so there was the boss that I worked with, the guy that Karen was talking about, and another guy, Eric. The 3 of us went to this task force, and none of us got picked because we can type. We were definitely, as a guy from Phoenix Police once called me. He says, "You guys are mouth-breathing street monsters." I'm like, that's probably pretty correct. Yeah. So we went all over the Vancouver area. It'd be the equivalent of going from Buckeye to Mesa and everywhere in between, and we're in bars, we're pulling over cars. Anybody had any sort of gang flavor, we stopped them, we talked to them, we basically told them, you can't do this, teach them manners. And boy, did I love it. Oh, it was great. It was not the best for family life because, as you know, your husband will attest to this. Gangsters don't get up at 8 a.m.
Yeah, they don't work at 5 in the morning.
No. If it's 5 in the morning, they're just going to bed.
Yeah.
They're not getting up. So it was nights. It was working nights.
And it didn't matter what was going on in our life. It didn't matter if it was our son's birthday party or daughter's birthday. It didn't matter what was going on. When that call comes, I got to go. So you kind of left holding a lot of life, what's going on.
Yeah.
You would know that. You're left holding the bag, right?
Yeah. And I understand that.
Yeah.
Having been a detective myself, I know when you gotta go, you just gotta go. And it's still not fun.
No.
So did you notice any changes with Ty at this point? I mean, obviously scheduling is different, but I'm saying like
Absolutely.
Mentally,
Absolutely.
emotionally,
Yep.
checking out,
Yep.
any of that type of stuff.
Sleep deprived. When I look back now at it, definitely sleep deprived.
Yeah.
He was very, not always, but there were certain times, depending on what was happening with files or whatever he had to do, that he was quick to anger. It would be over, like the kids dropped, spilt something, and it would be like this major catastrophe where, he was never violent or anything, don't get me wrong. It was just this inappropriate response for an action that had occurred. And so I did see a lot of that. He was very, very good at letting me know what was happening, when it was happening, and we'd have calendars. Oh my gosh, we had our phones synced, we had calendars on the fridge, so that he knew what was going on in our world. Because as much as he doesn't like me to say, you're a single mom a lot of the time, and 4 on, 4 off, it doesn't mean 4 on, 4 off. No. It doesn't mean he's off on 4.
Well, you have call outs and all those stuff, right?
And
trying to get sleep
I described it as a lot of him trying to then reinsert himself back into our systems, what we had going on, where we were going. And so that's why one of the reasons the calendar was super important for us. If it wasn't on the calendar, trust me, it wasn't happening. There's no kind of surprise throwing it on. So that was hard for him to reinsert, because sometimes being very black and white, very A-type personality as a teacher, I live in a gray world. Let's talk about that. How are you feeling about that, right? Like, why? What? How did we get to this? Let's talk about the root of what's going on.
Yeah, Brian Doolittle did not raise Ty to be like that.
No. And so it was a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, discipline was being set by somebody who was not going to be there to carry it out. Yeah. So whatever discipline he had set, I would just get so pissed off.
Well, how old were your kids at this time?
Actually, you know what? I'm just going to pause on what she was saying, because there was a pretty significant event that had happened that caused a major change in our life.
Okay.
So when I was sent out this gang task force that was put together because of all these shootings and stuff, there was one night we pulled a guy over, and he was a pretty dangerous guy and didn't want to come out of the car. And so it took a few of us to get him out, and it didn't go well for him. There's a lot of force that was used, and maybe there was some dental work required. I'm just saying it could have happened. Yeah. But as a result of that, there was death threats. And there was a threat against me, another guy named Kurt, and one other guy. I forget his name now. But we had this death threat, and that kind of shook me a bit, because there's nobody else in the Vancouver area with the last name of Doolittle that polices or teaches or goes to kindergarten.
So now everybody in the family has a target.
Absolutely, and I wore that. That was my fault, and so that was a lot of stress. So it was we got to get an alarm system on the house, and I don't care if you're home, lock the doors, turn the alarm on. It doesn't matter. Like, we're always taking different routes home. Always, like, all of a sudden I was like really aware of that. And with all that stress, I decided to just do what the Marine Corps taught me to do, and I just pushed it down. One of the things that came out of that is, like, we need to make a decision to do something better for our family. If this is the work we're doing and we're good at it, being a teacher and being a cop, then we need to make changes in another area. So we moved. We moved from Canada to the U.S. Yeah, and it cost us about $25,000.
Dang.
And we moved because it's just a further layer. Most of the people that I was dealing with, they can't cross the border. They all got criminal records and not getting across the border. If somebody really wanted to reach to us, they could. But it was just another layer. So in December 4th of 2009, we moved from Canada to the U.S. Put a bit of strain on family as well. Like Karen's parents, my parents were like, how can you do this? And I'm like, we're the same. It takes us the same amount of time to get to your house. We were right across the border in the U.S. and we both worked in Canada. And it took a while for people who didn't really know our situation to kind of understand, whether it be friends or family. And but we moved from like postage stamp yard. Like I could probably cut my grass with a weed eater faster than I could with a lawnmower, to 5 acres. a beautiful place, and then we thought we had it made, and it was good. Like I will say, it was a great place to raise our kids when they were little, but it was also when you're 4 on 4 off. Kids are a little bit older, so there's sports and going to baseball tournaments and cheer things, and it was, man, we were go, and that house was just drug us down.
So when we moved, Kennedy was kindergarten, and Jack was 3rd grade, and I'm finishing my thesis for my master's degree.
Yeah.
Our world was upside down. It was crazy. That was a really crazy time because there was, we literally went underground.
And I went full-time gang squad. I was no longer like a task force. It was permanent. That's what I did.
And I'm a city girl. I grew up in the city, and here I am stuck out on 5 acres out in a county where it's going to take us 15 minutes to get into town if the kids have play dates, to get all that kind of stuff. Or kids in Canada, you don't ride a bus to school. That's not an option. So now, getting them used to being on a bus, or that was hard for me to let go of, doing that even. But one thing that I don't think I actually processed at the time is that we were leaving a kindergartner and a 3rd grader in another country,
right,
while we left to go work in another country.
That's wild.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But you just do it.
You
literally just do it. And my master's was a 3-year program, and it was all online. Funny enough, it was from the University of Phoenix. And I'm doing it, out of Canada, and then, anyway, in Washington State. But being out in the county, the internet was not great. And, it was just this one
stress
disaster.
upon stress upon stress upon stress.
And then this 5 acres, he liked his OCD, liked it to be like a
He's
golf
out there
course.
measuring it all.
Yeah, right?
Oh, it was a golf course.
Yeah, we bought 2 ride-on lawnmowers, but that was time spent when he was off. It was like, what
Still
are we
away from the family.
Yeah.
He's out, he's got his earbuds on, he's got country music going, he's going up and down, and I'm still dealing with mommy. And I'm like, what is going on? You have a father, his name is Daddy.
So
then I started taking over the grass cutting.
Yeah.
2 questions, actually.
Sure.
Does country music sound different in Canada?
No.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So the real question is,
dog
all right,
doesn't come home.
So originally I was asking about how old your kids were, because now the reason I was kind of building into that, because with this event, were people having to adjust to you versus obviously you adjusting to them, because of anger issues.
Yeah, it was, it would flare up. But as I'm sure, everybody in here is a gunfighter or married to a gunfighter or has that awareness. Like whenever we go somewhere, I do a 5-second sight recon before we sit down. And
Sure.
Where am I sitting? And now Karen is at the point and Jack is at the point, Kennedy not so much because she was so young, but they realized Dad sits first. Right. And it was just, that's the way it was. We didn't go to big crowded stuff on my days off, but you put a gun on me and I'll wait into a crowd, no problem if I'm working, but I just couldn't do it on my days off. And I'd get stressed, really stressed out. It took a little bit of, not only our immediate family, Karen and the kids and I kind of figure, okay, what is our new norm? Because it was never a norm. Right? It wasn't, as you guys know, when you're working that type of life, especially when it's the gang policing, we're the tactical arm for organized crime section. So we're not SWAT. I never claimed to be SWAT. I would never tell anybody I was SWAT because then I wouldn't be able to make fun of them. And I got a lot of good friends that are SWAT, so it's good nature fun. But we were doing a lot of high risk stuff, and so it was never normal. And I started running informants, and it was like, here's an example. We go to the county fair. We have the big fair comes into Linden, the town we were at, and it's a big deal. When you're a kid, it's the social event. So we go there. We're there about 4 hours. My phone lights up and said, there's been a triple homicide. So one of the Bacon brothers got shot. We got to go. You got to come in right now. Well, we live 10 miles out of town. And Karen, God bless her, she just figured, she said, go. I'll figure out a way to get home. And she got the kids, finished the day at the fair, got the kids home. I don't know how she did it, but it was drop everything. And as abnormal as that was, that's a normal thing. That wasn't like, oh, that's weird. No, it was just, okay. It happens.
Yeah.
And it's the stress would build up sometimes. Like, I got to tell you, the old tried and true method of push it down didn't always work, or at least, to the outside world, it didn't work. I thought I was doing fine. And one of the examples I talk about when we give our conferences, and we'll get into that later, but I had come off nights and I maybe got about 4 hours sleep. Just got this new F-150 truck that had power, everything, and we're driving up to Canada. And my son's behind me, my daughter's there, Karen's there, and my daughter's got the power windows, zzz, up, down.
Oh, I didn't know what both doing.
Oh boy,
it.
I know where this is going.
And I'm gripping that wheel tighter, and I think I might have bent the steering wheel. I'm like, hey, could you leave the steering wheel, leave the window alone? Zzz, 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 zzz. Finally, I just snapped. Would you quit finger fucking my truck? And it got deadly quiet, right? Kennedy starts crying because Dad yelled at her. Jack is trying to hold in a laugh because two things. One, I just said the F word. He thought that was pretty funny. And his sister got yelled at. Karen looks over and she goes, pulls out her imaginary parenting book. She goes, finger fucking the truck. I don't see that in the parenting manual.
What page is that?
Yeah. But that's a classic example of little overreaction to the event. They're kids. Dad's got a cool new truck. They want to be part of the cool new truck. And it's just region, and they just kept it inside. It'll be fine. We learned to live like that, and it was not easy. As the kids got older, we realized we can't keep doing this 10 miles into town, 10 miles back, 10 miles into town, 10 miles back. So we moved into town. Made it a lot easier for them, but I was still doing gang work. I just driving a little farther now, and it just little by little, it just kept piling up. And Karen's pursuing her career as well, right? It's not like she's sitting at home waiting for me to enter her life. Like she's
busy too.
She's busy too. She's an incredible educator. She's done amazing things in her field. She was sought after to be a principal. And she kept telling me, no, I don't want to give that commitment. I'd rather give that commitment to my family. And one of the things I also did at this point is my peers are starting to go for promotion, and I entertained it briefly, and I just said, no, I don't, because I don't have enough of my own time, and I certainly don't want to give that up when I get stripes. And so we had, I wasn't so completely tone deaf that I, always put my career first, but it was just, we did everything we could to make it work.
Can I just interject there? I don't know if it's the funny thing, the weird thing. People often ask me, how were you ever concerned for Ty when he was in gangs? And as crazy as it might sound, I was more concerned when he was doing patrol.
Yeah.
Because you don't know really who you're pulling over. Right. You're on your own. Well, they would drive 2 cars, but when they would train, they trained with the same guys, same 5 guys. Yeah. They would do the same tactical, like move out, bring them back towards the vehicle. It was the same all the time. And I had, just a piece about that. Plus, I knew the guys he was working with. Right. And one thing I never wanted him to do, and I certainly don't want my son to do this, is real undercover. I didn't ever want him to go undercover. So they were, an overt, said right on the front. Everybody knew who they were.
Yeah.
And that gave peace. And he broke his hand so many times on the job. It got to the point where I said to him, please stop calling me in the middle of the night to let me know you're in hospital, because I would have to be up at 5 a.m. and you're calling me at 1 telling me you're in the hospital or something, right? So unless it's absolutely necessary.
Just come home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you mentioned you're pushing it down, were you aware at the time that that's what you were doing, or is that just in hindsight now that you can see?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, totally unaware of this.
Okay. And what were you seeing in him?
Well, I saw the quick to anger. I saw the tiredness all the time. And I saw the overarching identity of who he was. I'm a gang cop, and that was priority for. It's really weird I don't mean that in terms of priority over our family, but it was a priority for him. He loved doing it. It's what he did. What he was good at. And he got pride from doing that.
The identity at the moment.
The identity of the moment. And so he's such a good guy. He's such a good man. He's a good human being. He's a great dad. He's a great husband.
All right.
But that is what I respect about him, right? So did I notice, did I see all of the stuff? No, because he didn't share half the stuff that was going on in his life, in the calls, in the stuff that was doing.
Yeah. And this affects the whole family too. Like, we joke about it. I'd be working nights and I'd be up. We had an extra bedroom and that was a sleeping room, and
all blacked out.
All blacked out, and I'd be trying to get my sleep, and the kids would be making noise, and Karen would be like, "Would you be quiet? Stop it!
Yeah.
Would you be quiet? Would you be quiet?" And what would wake me up is when she finally blew up. Would you quit running? Wake your father! So to say it didn't have an effect on Karen, and I look back on it now, like she's doing her best to build her career. Okay, so on top of that, we're going to have you raise 2 kids, have the stress of your husband might not come home that night, all that other stuff. And she did her best to keep all those balls in the air and really try to, when a ball would drop, like mitigate it. And the pressure that she was under was just incredible as well. And, sometimes it would, like, I'm not bagging on my wife, but any woman, any person in that, they're going to have little slips as well. Little slips where, you're blowing up over something that it's just a small noise. And, when you're at that point, you're like, you're going to wake your father up.
And one of those areas was where I finally said to him, I'm going to get on the tractor and I'm going to be out there for 6 hours cutting grass. It was kind of that.
Kids are yours. I'm out.
Yes. Because it's like, oh, you've got to go again. Okay, well, I'll do the kids again. And it kind of was that mentality of, oh, well, it's me again. But
if I can go back to a question on something you said. So you brought up that you would disclose certain things on the calls or whatever. And this was actually a topic at one of our peer groups was, do spouses really want to know the truth or not? So did you really want to know what he was going through? The details on the calls or that type of stuff?
Yes, I'm definitely interested in that, but I don't think I got all the details, and I didn't know that I wasn't getting all the details. I got kind of Cole's notes, it was just, and more so he would tell us the funny things, and just things like the border, the guys at the border, when he would come through the border at night in the early wee hours of the morning, always wanted to know his stories. And so, what did you do tonight, Ty, or who did you get? And that's the kind of stuff that he would sort of share in terms of those funny stories, the things that people were interested. So we didn't get I know I didn't get details, and I don't necessarily need details, but just an overview of kind of how was the night. Yeah, we would talk about stuff.
It's funny. I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. It wasn't until later that kind of, when I was seeing a counselor and talked through some of those things. But yeah, I didn't want Karen to look at me differently. Right. Even when I talk about my time in combat, I made it sound like it was all cool, funny movie stuff, and I was John Wayne, but it was not. It was if you've been in combat, it's not good. It's not fun. It's a lot of nasty, dirty, dead stuff, and it's. But I never shared that with her.
But you put it in terms that people can understand it.
Yeah. I would put it. Yeah, I would make a PG version of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I would definitely not be the unedited cut. But yeah, it was, but it almost got to the point where we were in a flow. The absolute, the sheer madness of our life was normal. Chaos was what we did. And we just, we did things to mitigate it. Like it was, we had one time get a call from the school and said, Jack's still here. Nobody's picking him up. I'm like, well, I thought you're picking them up. Then that's when Karen left her, remember the old slide phones where you'd slide it up? And she's like, I don't want all that internet stuff. I don't need any of that. I just like to be able to send text messages. And I said, we're getting iPhones because we got to get this together. And as our kids were growing up, we kind of had, this is anything to deal with our son, that was me. I was primary on that. I mean, even if I couldn't get him a ride to practice or something like that, I arranged it. Anything to deal with my daughter and her cheer, Karen was that. Because we couldn't, if we both tried to do it halfway, it would both fall apart. So we were putting systems in place to make sure that things got done.
I mean, our third grader had a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Just in case you don't.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case so that he could.
So it was, and we hear now, once our kids became adults, it taught them to grow up fast.
Yeah.
It did not at the sacrifice of their childhood, but they sure learned responsibility quick, because that's just the way we operated. We just had to do it, as I'm sure you guys can relate, right? It's just, we got to do it. The job still has to get done.
Yeah.
Our kids were very, very successful in what they did. And, Kennedy, she did competitive cheer, traveled all over, did well at that. Our son played baseball, he traveled all over the U.S. And then this will feed into the story later, but at the end of his freshman year, the football coach comes and says, "Hey, Jack, we want you to come play football." And he's like, "No, it's concussions. I don't want any part of that." And he says, "Well, we thought you'd say that." He says, "You ever think about cheer?" And Jack's like, "What do you mean cheer?" He says, "You're a strong kid. We need strong kids to lift the girls up." He says, "I don't know." Comes home and he says, "Dad, what do you think?" I said, "Boy, don't screw this up." I said, "The girls outnumber the guys 6-1. This could be very good for you." And his buddies are like, "Doolittle, you won't do it." So he said, "All right, fine, I'll show you how to do it." He didn't like it, but he got really good at it. He got so good at it that he got a scholarship to go to the University of Washington.
He had 3 universities.
Yeah.
Eventually he liked it.
Right.
Yeah. His wife.
I'm sure there's some perks.
His wife, they cheered together in high school. So
There you go.
yeah. So it worked out well for him. I don't think he's ever had a girlfriend that wasn't a cheerleader.
No.
Yeah. So
That's rough.
yeah, let's all feel bad for Jack Doolittle. He's a poor guy. He was just, and he's one of those kids that, like, when he was 8 years old, he turned 20. Like, he would he knew what he was going to do. He was very, very focused. He thought in terms of years where his peers thought in terms of maybe the weekend. So he graduates high school. He's got this scholarship to go cheer at the University of Washington. And I remember this was the kind of the big, all that pressure I've been dealing with came to a head. So July 4th, 2019. Yeah, 2019. We go over to a friend's house down the road from us to watch fireworks. And for some reason, Karen went home early. She said, I'll meet you at home. Because even in our own neighborhood, the guy at the end of the block, he goes bananas for fireworks, like $5,000 worth of mortars. He goes off. So we're over at some friend's house, and I decided to drive home after first kind of initial fireworks from the neighborhood. Not good. I'm not good with fireworks unless I'm in uniform. Then it doesn't bother me. But if I'm not in uniform, they scare the shit out of me. And so I drive home, and it's just dark, smoke billowing into the streets from all the fireworks, people partying, lots of noise, and it's just, whoa, this is downtown Mogadishu. And I'm dealing with it. I finally get home, and I was like, whew, not good. So then I've got, middle of Beirut down at the end of the block is going off. My neighbor across the street, he served a couple tours in Afghanistan in the Guard, and so he comes out, and we're standing in the middle of the street in our cul-de-sac with our backs to each other, going, "Okay, you good? Yeah, we're good." Rocking back and forth. We'll get through this. Not a problem. Pretty crazy fireworks night, and I'm not working, so it really hits. Next day, I get up. I go to get the car washed because, we've had debris from $5,000 worth of mortars fall on the car. And I remember feeling a little kind of tense as I was driving to the car wash. Get the car washed. I'm driving home, and I was like, whew. And it felt like somebody was squeezing like a bear hug around me. And I was like, oh man, this is weird. And, the high school was like 3 blocks from the house, 4 or 5 blocks to the house. And I just by the time I get to the high school, I'm welling up in tears, and I'm like, what is going on? And my hands are shaking like a dog shit in razor blades. I couldn't get control. So I pull over in the parking lot, and by this time I'm like openly sobbing, and I can't catch my breath. And, every time I tell the story, I get emotional. I can feel it coming now. And I was like, get control. This is not good. And I just paid enough attention as a cop to see people in crisis, to recognize that this was me. I was in crisis. And if I didn't do something about it, it could get worse. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there in the parking lot, and I call the VA hotline, and they get me in touch with somebody after it seemed like forever on hold. And I still can't get it together. I'm still just like crying my eyes out. I'm sobbing. My son drives by in his car, and he's like, oh shit, he thought my dad died. I rolled the window and said, I'll talk to you when I get home. Just go home, and I'll talk to you then. So I'm sure he goes home and gets everybody worked up. Dad's having a breakdown. What's going on? I think Papa died. And I finally get in touch with somebody at the VA and say, yeah, we're going to get you some help. I said, I'm not suicidal. I don't want to hurt myself, but I know that if I don't get something started now, I could get that way. And I don't know what's going on with me. I can't breathe. I can't move my arms right. I've been dealing with chronic pain with some injuries and stuff like that.
You already had multiple surgeries.
Yeah, I'd had multiple surgeries, and it was just, I had actually had a surgery. They're supposed to fix a hernia. The surgeon nicked my long thoracic nerve, which goes around to your back to your rhomboid muscle, and affected nerve damage throughout my arm. I hadn't been able to deploy. I'm inside doing analysis stuff, and it's just not good. And so I finally get home. I get the ball rolling. I get home, and I'm trying to keep it together and walk through the door. And I'm supposed to walk through the door, and it's just like sobbing again. And so I don't know. Kennedy wasn't part of this. She must have been at a friend's house or something. And Jack's like, "What happened? What happened? What happened?" I said, "It's all right, buddy." And Karen's like, "What's going on?" And I tell her, I said, it built up, and I think it's because our son was moving. Our son was going off, like our little baby boy was now leaving the house. And his solution was, well, I just won't go. And I'm like, no, buddy, you don't understand. You're evicted. Like, you don't get to stay here. If you don't go to school, that's on you. But I said, this is our problem to deal with. And that was July 5th, 2019. And it was, it was a day that, I'll remember for the rest of my life, because it was a day that finally got me to stop pushing and start releasing. And I didn't even know how that was going to look.
Yeah.
But I knew that something had to be done, because I had been going full tilt, putting 100% into every single thing that crossed my bow. Marine Corps, policing, gang policing, parenting, everything I can think of. I was putting everything into it. And, I tell people, when you only got 10 give a shits a day and you've got 30 give a shits being required, you fall short.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just, something had to be done. So Jack goes off to school. He's like, okay, fine. We're going to make it work. And this happened in July. It wasn't until the middle of August that I finally get in to see a counselor. Just kind of navigating through the VA to arrange this. And they say, okay, we got you. You got an appointment at this clinic. Go on in. So I called up and I'm like, hey, I got an appointment. They're like, sure, we got you. I finally go in there that day, and it was like the longest walk of my life was going from the parking lot into a facility that said, I want some mental health help. Yeah. Because it was always good for me to promote it for somebody else, but to promote it for me felt like I was being weak.
Yeah.
When I look back now, I had to be super strong for it, but it was not easy. And that long walk, and I finally get in there, and I go up to the counter and I tell the girl, say, hey, my name is Ty Doolittle. I'm here to see somebody for help. And she goes, your name again? Ty Doolittle. And she goes, and who you're supposed to see? I'm not sure who it was I'm supposed to see, but I'm supposed to be seeing somebody today. And she's like, we don't have you down here. I don't have an appointment for you. Man, it was, my voice decibels probably got way high. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I called yesterday and I went through all these things, and here I am thinking I'm keeping control, but I know I was on the verge. And finally, this counselor, Annie, she comes out. She says, whoa, I got you. Actually, the paperwork's in my office. I'm sorry, we got you taken care of. We're going to help you. She goes, why don't you come with me? And she saved my life that day. Mm-hmm. It was... There's no doubt in my mind that God had a plan from that day, because she didn't know who I was. She had no idea who I was, other than I was somebody who needed help. And
she didn't even have the paperwork.
No idea who I was. And we started, at the start it was like every week for probably about 4 or 5 months. Every week we would meet. And she started peeling back the layers, all the things that I've been putting down since I was 18 years old. She's like, let's get to it. Peel back the layer after layer after layer after layer. And it was incredible. It was incredible the work she did. And Karen would, like, she was the most supportive she could be. Like, she was so supportive in this, like, get help. You know, when you talked, you asked about, did I share details? I didn't share details. I didn't go to Karen for that kind of help. But what gave her, I think what made her feel good is that at least I was going to somebody.
Yeah.
Because up until then, I would just go to myself, and that wasn't good. You know, and I tell people, if I broke my ankle, I wouldn't want Karen to break her ankle so that she would understand the pain I'm going through. That's not needed. As long as she understands that, you know, some days I walk slow because I broke my ankle. Some days I'm fine. Other days it really hurts, and I need you to carry some stuff. And that's what she has been through this whole thing. Has been just an absolute rock and just supported me through this whole thing. And then, you know, we hit COVID as well, right? And I'm still seeing a counselor through COVID. So, you know, she's like, do you want us all to leave the house while you do your online? You know, sometimes it'd be upstairs in the bedroom, or it would, you know, I'd just get in the car and do Zoom over my phone or something like that. But I never battled with Karen to say, you know, it wasn't like, oh, you got another meeting with the counselor? Didn't you just meet 2 weeks ago?
I didn't want him to feel like we could hear him under the door. I never wanted that for him. So
yeah, you know, and I think when you've gone through the things that, you know, first responders go through, but, you know, not that I'm anything special, but I'd seen a lot of dead people. I killed a bunch of people, and I didn't kill anybody in policing, but I sure did see a lot of death doing gang work, gang enforcement. I wasn't in a desk; it was gang enforcement, and we're doing a lot of stuff, and the pressure. And I think everybody should talk to somebody, and talk to somebody who's not going to sit next to you at church, somebody who's not going to sit across the table from you at Christmas dinner, or who's going to be, you know, pushing the cart next to you at the grocery store. You got to talk to somebody who is there straight for you. And that's what Annie was for me. She saved my life. She saved my marriage. She saved my kids. All that stuff she put into place. You couldn't find a more opposite person than me. She's about 10, 15 years older than me, an old hippie. Like, you know, but the only request I had is that I want the person I speak to be a Christian, because I want her to have the same Christian values. And that was it. And she was perfect for what I needed. And
that's great.
And I didn't realize how much I needed her until COVID hit, because I was still battling all these injuries. I thought I would come off the road, I'd get better, and I'd go back to gang policing. And, you know, it's funny, if you're a believer, you know this, that God never tells you no. Mm-hmm. When you go to God with a request, he will never tell you no. He will say yes. He will say not right now. Or he'll say, actually, I have something better for you. And yeah, it was crazy, because as I'm dealing with all this pain, and it was really bad, I was getting migraine headaches. And by this time, I'd been transferred from like an intel unit to telephone report taking, which is during the day. And so it was a little bit for me to go stop working night shift, because I felt guilt about that. Because if I'm not working nights, somebody else has to, and I felt really guilty about that. But I'm also in my 40s, and I had somebody come by and they're like, you should not be working nights. Like, you're getting older. Like, you need to, you know, wake up and smell the coffee, and not in the middle of the night. So I went to telephone report taking, and we used to call it the maternity ward, because it's all pregnant cops. And it was me, one other guy, and a bunch of junior pregnant women. And that's not what I thought I'd be doing. And then right after that happens, COVID hits. We lived in the U.S. I policed in Canada. They said, don't come into work. Don't cross the border. Don't come into work. So for the
everything stopped.
For the first month and a half, I'd call up in the morning, say, hey, check it in. The boss said, okay, I got you. Call tomorrow. And that was it. I was turned two. Do what you want. Would have been great if everybody else was turned two, but it was COVID. Nobody could do anything. I'd go and have coffee in a parking lot outside of a coffee shop with a couple of friends for about an hour and a half every day, and then I'd go back and stare at the wall. Finally, they said, we're going to have you work remotely. So when I tell people, say, yeah, I policed in our spare bedroom in another country. Like, how the hell did you do that? It was something. It was not the way I wanted to police.
And during that time as well, as with school being shut down, I had transitioned into special education at that point. And so it is difficult enough to work with children who are not neurotypical, but to try to do that over a computer. Hi, honey, it's Mrs. Doolittle. You know, you have autism, or you know, whatever your need is. So he's working at home, I'm working at home, and it was another crazyville time of
figuring out how to make it work.
What are we doing?
Were your kids still in school too? So they were.
Well, our son was off at university.
Oh, okay.
But he was doing mostly online from his basement suite where he was at. They were still doing cheer, Like they still had sporting events because you got to pay bills. Our daughter was
Graduate, yep.
Well, I just didn't know if everybody's in the house all in
she'd
their
be in
rooms doing your.
she'd be in her room too. Yeah, so the three of us were trying to make it work. Online household. Yeah, it was something, and even all the way up until she graduated. But like it.
And then we had the great idea of rescuing a Great Dane
during
that time.
Yeah. Why don't we add some pressure to this? All right. Yeah. So we. You
get the Great Dane.
Yeah, we get the Great Dane. So that was it was our daughter's dog, but yet we to this day we take care of him. He's a good boy. He's just definitely not what we were looking for. It was getting to the point where I was so frustrated, and I couldn't understand why I was getting so pissed off about everything. And it was my spiritual Yoda, a guy named Al Kusat, who he actually baptized me as an adult, and he's who I went to for spiritual guidance. And he says, "Ty, you got everything wrong." He said, "I used to think I was a gang cop first, and then I was a dad, and then I was a husband, and Christian was down the road." And he says, "You got it backwards. You got to flip that around." He says, if you want to have the right relationships in your life, he says, you are a son of a king first. You are a Christian. The whole world can fall apart. You'll still be a Christian. He says, and then you are a husband. Before you're a father, you're a husband. Because if it's not right with mom and dad, it can't be right with the kids. Being a cop is what pays the bills. It's what you do for a living. Be proud of it, but it's not who you are. Mm-hmm. It's a portion of what makes you who you are, but stop getting your identity from that. And I didn't realize how prophetic that was at the time, but it sure did pay off down the road. And so I kind of made that switch, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, things are going to be better. And it was like door closed, door closed, door closed, door closed. My health was getting worse and worse. The nerve damage was not getting better. Every time the weather would change from bad to good, good to bad, I'd be getting sick, like migraine headaches, throwing up in the trash can. My identity of being a cop was being challenged because I'm calling Mrs. Smith from our spare bedroom during the day on my cell phone saying, "Mrs. Smith, we're not going to come and pick up those bottles that were thrown in your yard. I'm really sorry about that." Or hey, we'll see if we can have somebody come by in 2 days. And getting yelled at by Mrs. Smith for not giving her the best policing that I could. And, I mean, it's just not what I wanted, and it was just. I just we got to make a change. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. And so we were set to, I knew I was going to have to retire. It was never going to get better. I was never going to get better than I was. And I couldn't keep staying in that environment up in Washington State. And it was a senior cop, a guy named Tony Zanata, the Z-Man. He said, "Ty, why don't you put in for long-term disability?" I'm like, "Tony, that's for guys who can't work." He says, "Duh." He says, "What do you think it is?" I'm like, "Well, it's not for me." He says, "Yes, it is for you. You've done everything you could." And I was like, "All right, fine. I'm not going to get it." But I did. I put in for it. So we were fortunate enough that I was going to be able to retire. Karen would take a bit of a penalty, but she retired early. But the good thing is that we did this right as the market was about to pop. So we sold our house. We got like $55,000 over asking, sold in 8 hours, and the place right across the street from us went up for rent month to month. So we went from living, in this great house, sold it, made a buttload of money, living in the place next door, and then we knew we were either going to go to Vegas or Phoenix, and kind of a mentor of ours said, "Go to Phoenix. Go to Phoenix. You will do well in Phoenix." We had first thought it was going to be out in the East Valley because my folks used to have a place out in Gold Canyon, and some friends of ours said, "Hey, come out, check Verrado." So Verrado was it. So we had bought a couple different houses through different developers, and they just weren't getting done fast enough. So, everything lines up for a reason. All those doors that were shut, all of a sudden, boom, some doors were starting to get kicked open, and we found a place that we were able to move within a couple months. Mm-hmm. And so we moved down here. It's almost 3 years ago. Next week will be 3 years. Wow. And so we got here and like, okay, we're retired. What do we do? Well, I can't play golf, can't play pickleball. So what else do retired people do? We thought maybe we might open a business. I went to a program out at Luke Air Force Base called Boots to Business, teach veterans how to own their own business. And I took the course a couple times. The second time, first time I thought I was going to open a nail salon and move our daughter down because she was a nail tech. She had done all that stuff. And we're like, we'll just have her run it. Thank God we didn't do that. Yeah, that's some tiring work. Yeah. Second time we did it, it was, "No, Ty, you're going to do something different. You're going to start, God said you and your wife are going to start a retirement conference program for first responders." Patrick, I'm sure you know about this. Like when you get out of the Marine Corps, they send you a class called TAP, Transition Assistance Program, teaches you how to be a civilian. When I left policing, there was nothing, like absolutely nothing. It was like, good luck, see you later.
Here's your plaque.
Yeah, right? Yeah, here's your plaque, there's the door, right? We'll call you at Christmas time and give you a tin of cookies. And that was it. And so we struggled with a lot of stuff, like trying to figure out what does our pension look like? What do we, like everything we could think of, we just like, we've never done this before. And, God obviously, I asked God for it to be easy for us, and he gave us an opportunity to develop strength. And we made it through. So I said, what do we do now? There was a guy that I worked with. His street name was Chopper for surveillance, but Ryan was just an awesome guy, and he did undercover and surveillance, where I did tactical stuff. And he and I, he was one of my favorite people. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma in 2020, I think it was. No, 2018. And he was doing tattooing on the side to help cover the costs. And he gave me a couple of tattoos. I was one of the last guys. There were a few people after me. One of the last guys that he gave tattoos to. Karen arranged it for my 50th birthday. And this one here, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it says Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I just think, in my life, all the things that I've been as a combat vet, as a gang cop, and all the different things that I've been through, like, God was there for me. He gave me the strength I needed to. But that's not it. Mm-hmm. Right? We are not to be reservoirs. We're to be rivers. We're to have God's grace grow through us and help the next person. So I had this one. This is Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. It's incumbent upon us, those who have made it through the fire, to turn around and help the next one. Patrick, it is no mistake that you and I are connected. Both Marines, both cops. You understand what it is like. It is no mistake that we're connected. You've lived a life not only as a first responder, as a cop, but as a spouse of one. So you get both our stories. This is definitely supposed to be. So we thought, okay, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? I knew nobody. We moved down here and knew one person or one couple, and they had nothing to do with policing. That was it. But we're going to figure it out. So just talking, we went to this community meeting, that community meeting, meet this person. They said, go talk to that person. And in March of 24, we launched our first retirement seminar. We had 4 presenters, and it was not the greatest, but it was a start. And we had some people come out, and we knew that we were on the trail of doing something good. We had to tweak it. So, we change it to a conference, and now we have 7 different providers come in. And we're designed to help people who are in the second half of their career, maybe getting towards the end. Earlier the better, but thinking about life after the badge. So many times when we get ready to retire, we see anxiety, like, what am I going to do? How are we going to do this? And I'm so keyed up. And I always use the example of Karen, before any of this, if she had said, hey, I need you to go to the store and get some, milk and eggs, I would have been up here and be like, what the hell? I'm a gang cop. You know what? Like, why are you asking me to do this stuff? I'd be pissed off because I've got all these things on my mind. What is going to happen as I retire?
Give a shits.
Yeah, my 10 give a shits are being pulled too many different
Milk and
ways.
eggs aren't one of them.
Yeah, like they're being pulled too many ways. So we started talking to different people who had been retired, who are getting ready to retire, and what are your issues? And from that, we developed our conference that presents on these 7 topics, and it could go more. But we have somebody comes in, talks about pension. What is your pension? What does it look like? What do you have your hands on? What do you have access to? It's not, hey, come invest with us. It is, here's what you have. Here's how to get the most of it. We
thought that was really important because we kind of do the analogy of when you're at the mall and I want to go to JCPenney, you've got that little star that says you are here. You've got to understand where you are so that you know the route of how the path.
You got to know where you're going. There. If you don't know where you are, you can't get to where you're going.
And they really help these guys and gals lay out, because Ty will say a lot of you guys are divorced, or a couple of families, and you're not getting a full pension. So let's start with really knowing where you're at.
What's your
what
foundation?
Do you need to
move forward? And from there, we've brought in Lady Jody, who works for Noel Miller Aronofsky law firm, and all she talks about is living wills, trust, estate planning. How do you prepare for the day that you're not here? Which has been a huge concern for a lot of people.
And it's not always that you're not here. It can also be
incapacitated.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Incapacitated in your job. Are you set up for that?
Yeah.
God forbid something happens to you, right? While you're at work.
She talks about that. We've got another guy who comes in and he gives a lowdown on health insurance, life insurance. And as you know, when you retire, health insurance ain't cheap. It is. Even when they say, you can do COBRA. Well, COBRA costs a lot. It's not cheap. So he gives all the information on, here's what your options are. Here's what to think about. Information, knowledge. Applied knowledge is power. Knowledge is knowledge. Applied knowledge is power. and he shows you how to apply that knowledge. From there, maybe, because you had that layout, you got to work. Last time I wrote a resume, you guys are going to laugh, 2001, I printed it on a dot matrix printer, right? I handed it to a human being, and I had my stuff in columns, and that's just not done anymore, right? No. That's just, so we've worked with some amazing people who are career counselors and coaches that will help you figure out, how do you even spell LinkedIn, let alone what is it? How can it work for you? Here's what resumes look like nowadays. If it doesn't pass AI 2-3 times, a human will never look at it. Yeah. So how do you do that? Maybe you got to work. I'm just not working for another. I am not taking orders from one other person. Well, one other person I will. Right?
Well, I think people also have a hard time like translating what we did in work to how's it gonna go for this job.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were to ask me coming out, I have no transferable skills. All I know how to do is, pull cars, walk bars, and fight people. Sure. And, it wasn't until we sat down with a couple of coaches, like, no, actually, you have some incredible skills. You're not using the right language. Right. Once you give somebody that confidence, because as you all know, cops are type A personality. I meet resistance 3 times and I say, F it, I'm out. I'll go work at Walmart. I don't give a shit, right? Not that there's anything wrong working at Walmart. I'm not saying that. But is that really what you're supposed to be doing? Is that, for me, obviously we're faith-based. Is that what God has planned for you? So get uncomfortable, learn some things so that you can apply for the right job. Or maybe you want to start your own business. We show people here's how you can start your own business. You've always wanted to make widgets, whatever it is. Take advantage of the laws that are out there for tax benefits of having a home-based business. Big one for me is physical fitness. I was injured for so long, but like when I was working gang work, and I was just talking with Dennis about this, is like, if you can't knock people out, you're not much good in enforcement. So you better be strong. And I wasn't physically a physical specimen, trust me, but I trained for the mission that I had. Sure. And then when I got injured, I just stopped training altogether, and I ballooned up. And I got to the point where like, I am sick and tired of, my feet are too far away for me to do up the shoes. Right, I'm 50 at this point. I was like 53. I'm like, this is bad. So we brought on a guy, Shrad, who shows us here's how you can start managing the body you got. You only get one, so let's train for the mission that you got now that you're going to retire. And I got into yoga, and I think yoga is just amazing. I do that. It just changed my workout. Got on top of my health, and that's what he talks about. And then the last thing is it's the mental health. If I'm battling all this other stuff, my mental health has deteriorated. So, if you've come to one of our conferences, I've explained to you what your pension is, how your estate plan, your insurance, all these other things. So now when I'm up here before and Karen says, can you go get some milk and eggs? I've already got all those things ticked off, right? Now I'm down here and I'm working with a counselor. I'm figuring out my mental health side of it. And all right, I feel pretty good. And she says, go get some milk and eggs. I got my primary entry point to fries. I got a secondary entry point. I know my secondary or primary rally point. I know where I can get my bread, the best bread to get the best value. Look at his tactical planning and come out of there. And I'm like, ain't nobody can get bread like me, right? Feeling good about myself. And which is a great start. The biggest thing that, people, and I've been through this, is when you retire, the thing you did for 20, 30 years is gone. That reason you got up every morning or every afternoon is gone. And what's tougher than that is the people you did it with. They go with the machine. Sure. Mm-hmm. Friends I had at work, great friends, but it was based on convenience. We went to the same building every day and we did the same thing. That's why we were friends. When you retire, that's not there. It's incumbent upon you as a person retired to maintain those relationships if that's what you want. You will have to work harder to maintain relationships with your friends than you've ever had to do. And then what I call the tinnitus effect kicks in. It's going to start that I have tinnitus. I only hear it when I go to bed at night. The very last thing I hear it rings then. I don't hear it during the day. I'm sure if we got really quiet in this room, I could hear it. But when life is happening, you don't feel it. When life stops, you hear it. And when you retire, all of a sudden it gets quiet. Right? Another kind of example, and I'll get to the tinnitus in a minute, is Veronica, let's say you live in a beautiful home. Place next door to you is a vacant lot. And every day your dog goes out and he craps in the backyard. Now, you've got this cool shovel that says police on it, and you're supposed to take that shovel and put it in a really cool blue bag. It goes in a green bin, and you're Peoria or Surprise?
We're in Glendale.
Okay, Glendale. So Glendale City says put it in this thing, and we're going to charge you an extra $30 a month, but it's the best way to take care of it. It's the best thing for the environment, for your yard, all that stuff. You ain't got time for that, right? Your he's on shift. You got your stuff. You're doing investigation. You got that shovel, and instead of putting it in the green bin, you look at the empty lot next door, throw it over the fence. It's fine. Throw it over the fence. Throw it over the fence. You just do that day after day after day. Is it the best way to do it? No, but it's the easiest way to do it. Kind of like push it down. Best way? No, but it's easiest. Just push it down. You go to retire. Dennis comes in and say, hey, we bought that lot next door. My mom's moving in. I need you to clean it up. Oh, and by the way, you don't have that shovel anymore. That's what the post-traumatic stress of being a first responder can be. It's not a mound of dog shit. It's the little piles of dog shit every day. Or if you have a Great Dane, it's the big piles of dog shit every day. But it mounts up. And, when I heard that analogy, I'm like, that is so exactly what it's like, right? And you're going to have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And it might not be the thing that you think is really going to bother you. Go back to the tinnitus effect. The one that rings in me, when it got quiet, was not about the dead bodies. It's not about, combat in Somalia and all that stuff. No. Christmas Day, 2004, I go to a domestic call. I got to arrest a guy in front of his wife and kids. They're all mad at me. They're yelling, crying, and I got to arrest a guy on Christmas Day in front of his family and take him to jail. That's what bothers me. That's the one that rings. That's the ringing in my ears. That's the one I battle with. It's not all the other ones. So you never know what it's going to be. We encourage people, take a proactive, right? Preventative is best. You're going to have corrective mental health, but do something about it, right? Learn the tools that you need. Get plugged into the people that we work with a couple of amazing counselors. Jess, who we both know, she's the one that introduced us. That's how we were introduced, Jess Carter. And, Jess, if you're listening, you're amazing. But you need to, like I said before, you got to be able to have somebody you can lean on. We made it through a career. When I say we. I carried a gun. She carried the weight. As I've said through this whole thing, she carried the weight of raising the family when I was out the door. She got him home from the fair, still got her master's degree, was a very highly accomplished educator, very well respected in her field, right? All that stuff. We should be together at the end, right? In the last 5 years in the United States, 21% of all first responder suicides are retirees. In the state of Arizona, it's 33%. We make it all the way through just to lose our battle. I can't tell you how many people I know that get divorced once they end, because they don't know how to be anything other than a husband and wife who are in law enforcement or fire or you name it, right? It's there. So we want to make sure that not only are we the first responders equipped, but our spouses are equipped. You want to go a little bit about what you see? You're going to see me unravel first.
Oh, yeah. And that's why we ask for wives or husbands to attend, the spouse to attend, because, we just talked about, I can see him unraveling, and he's like, no, I'm fine, baby, you're not fine. And so with our folder that we have all of our vendors that we have vetted. They have their one-page sheet in there about them, so that they can at least go to that, hey, where was that folder? Or sometimes we put a magnetic
business card
so that it can be on the fridge, how do I go back to those people that I want to connect with? And at the very end of our in our file folder, we have a sheet that says, who would you like to follow up with? And it's not a have to, but it's very and how do you like to be? Don't call me, because I'm not going to pick up the phone unless you're in my contacts. I don't want to pick up the phone. But do you want to be texted? Do you want to be emailed? He loves phone calls. He's all about a phone call. And so it's just about how do you want to be connected with, and it's not high pressure. All of our vendors that we work with, we have really they had to have law enforcement, first responder, what's the word I'm looking for?
Experience.
Thank you.
Exposure.
Experience. Yeah, because you guys you got to speak the language, and you've got to pass that sniff test that Ty calls it. You've got to have something a value that you can add and speak the same language. That was very important to us.
Absolutely.
So we're super grateful.
Yeah, our conferences are not for cops.
No,
they're for first responders. Yeah. It wasn't until we started doing this I realized the pressure that firefighters go through, and
and first responders.
Yeah, all first responders, but dispatchers. Yeah, but dealing with firefighters, everybody they deal with is a victim.
Sure.
Right? At least we get to thump out a bad guy every once in a while. Everybody a firefighter deals with is a victim.
And I really didn't put much thought in that. We do the peer support groups, and one of them had mentioned having a hard time connecting to some of us because we're cops, and their job is to care for everybody, regardless of how they got there. Where we are not as sweet about it, you know. And so, I didn't really think about the differences in that way.
We're speaking with a guy, Ed, who's a retired firefighter, and he was telling us about having just the amount of child drownings that happen in the Phoenix area, and just how heartbreaking it is. And that's just, it gets it through the roof, and these guys have to go and deal with it.
And we would always joke too. I mean, police, you know, a gun or a pillow, a gun or a which one am I going to, you know, which career am I going to? And these guys, once we were starting to really interact and talk with them, they don't actually get REM sleep.
Right.
That's, oh my gosh, that's...
what they go through is just incredible. And dispatchers. I mean, dispatchers are heroes for anybody who's worked the road. Man, if you've got a good dispatcher, you just cherish them. And what's funny is most dispatchers, they're right along with you through the whole thing until it hits the apex, and then they're shut out. Because that's when we're going to work. And we don't have time. And so often they are left wondering what's going on, what's happening to my people, because they are, although they're not physically, they are so connected with what we're doing. So we think it's vital that dispatchers come to these programs as well. So, you know, we're excited about when we first started doing this. We were doing one every other month. Now we're doing 2 a month, one in the East Valley, one in the West Valley. We won't be doing any in the month of December, but we're going to be releasing our first quarter 2026 dates coming up real quick, and we'll be doing one in the East Valley, one in the West Valley. We want to make sure that it's there for people to be able to plug into. One of the things I'm really excited to talk about today, because I know we're up against time, but we've partnered with the Marine Corps Reserve, and we're going to be part of the Toys for Tots program. We just had our first bin go up in Peoria City Hall, or Police Department today. So if you are out in the West Valley, make sure you drop off a new unwrapped toy. We'll be posting on all our website as well as social media links that you can go to if you want to donate directly through the Toys for Tots program. I used to work the program way back in the 90s, and I've seen the joy that bringing toys to a kid's face is just, it's unbelievable. And so it's something that I feel really passionate about, and I would really encourage anybody who, if you come to one of our conferences next month, please bring a toy. If you can't, reach out. We'll arrange something. We'll figure out something so that we can make sure that somebody's Christmas is better, because we're here to make the world a better place than we left it. You know, now that our son is a police officer, one of the big driving forces of us doing this, not just for Toys for Tots, but I'm just talking about what we do at Serving First Responders. Are we making this world a better place for him, for his career, for his family? You know, for some reason, this kid really broke the mold. I was a cop, a first responder. I was also in the military, and I married a blonde school teacher. He is a cop. He is a chaplain in the military reserve. He married a blonde school teacher. Like, he's just following the family plan to a T. Yeah, and we couldn't be prouder of him. And our daughter's getting ready to join the military, so she feels that call to service. That's our family feels that call to service. And just because we took the uniform off, it doesn't mean that our call to service is over. This has given us just an amazing God-sent purpose to do what we can do to help other people. My whole career was spent fighting bad guys, and now I get to help good guys, and that's pretty awesome.
And I think something you've done throughout your career, and I'll take a little bit of credit, but you know, he's developed leaders in our kids. Both of our kids are leaders, they've never been followers, and they're both very, very good in the fields that they're in. Our daughter is an assistant manager at a fitness club and thriving there, and waiting for the Army to go into there. And
Whoa.
Army? I know. Our son's Army too. I know.
Well, this interview's over.
Yeah. We know who sits at the head of the table come dinner. Yeah, and all for our Marine friends out there, 250 years old here in another month.
That's right.
Less than a month. Looking forward to that Marine Corps birthday.
November 10th.
Yeah. So I hope we kind of covered what we're all about. And,
no, I think it's great.
I hope our listeners want to take part. Our website is www.servingfirstresponders.org. Or you can do .com or .net or .ca. Make sure we got them.
We'll add you to our website as well at the Afterwatch Foundation. So under resources, so people can click on you and just kind of shoot right over.
Yeah. What can we do to help your listeners and the people that you're working with? What can we do to reach to them?
Biggest thing is just sharing content. I mean, that's how we get all the information out there. Is just we put out as much as possible. I do a radio show on Wednesdays. I can talk about you guys on there sometimes. We can actually have conversations on there. We can just chat for a couple minutes because they're like 2-minute segments. Biggest thing is just getting the word out. That's the biggest thing is you're obviously doing pre-planning stuff. We're doing aftercare stuff. We're trying to just help people in those dark spots. I mean, you talk about Jess, she's on our team. So it's like one of those things that it's just amazing how we have all these tie-ins through different organizations, and it's just like it's cool.
You know, that military first responder family is, if you're not part of it, I don't think you really truly understand what a bond it is, but it's truly there. You know, it's from the first time I met you guys, it was like, okay, these are my people. These are my people. One of the things I'd kind of like to promote, it has nothing to do with me directly, but if you're looking to understand what it is to have somebody pass away in the line of duty, there is the Patriot Golf tournament that's coming up at the end of December, put on by the West Valley Mavericks, and it's out at the Wigwam, and it's NCAA golfers, and every one of them gets a bag issued to them with the name of a fallen first responder or a military member who's died in the line of duty. And it's pretty impactful to see the effect that these people have on kids that weren't even born when they passed away. We were there last year. We met a guy who is retired Goodyear police officer. He was an academy instructor, and it was one of the police officers that passed away, I think, around 2016 in Phoenix. He was his instructor at the police academy. This guy's retired, lives in Texas. He flew back and he walked every hole of the whole tournament with the person that was carrying his bag. And we heard multiple stories like that, Gold Star families that are coming out. And so if you want to come out and support an amazing cause and really get that, if you want to get it hit you in the feel, come check it out. Yeah, it's go to West Valley Mavericks website, they'll show up. But I think it is such an important program for people to come and see the effects that service, especially when you do the ultimate sacrifice, can have for other people. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming out.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet. Thank you so much for having us on. And